forward. That's what you're saying right now? Because we don't have to.
What I said?
Well, you're not saying anything, and I need you to say something, or we won't move forward.
I have had.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black But Another One. We're talking to you guys about Otis and Charly, and we're dealing with the fact that the non-accountability warfare between Charly and Otis is a lot right now. They had this last piece of conversation here, and I was on Charly's side, but I also had to understand as well that these two tit for tat is absolutely 100, and the 0 to 100 that happens with Charly when she doesn't feel like she's getting her way in terms of him being accountable is also quite interesting. Let me move the camera this way. It's also quite interesting because what you see is she did it again. She was like, "Oh, so what? You're not trying to have this conversation right now." But what you're really saying is you don't want to move forward. And I started to realize that Charly does that quite a bit. She will summarize and conclude very, very quickly without there really being much of a conversation. And that's also a problem as well. But mainly the non-accountability part. He's failing to take accountability for the fact that he spoke to a girl in the DMs, and now he's doing something very interesting, and you'll see it maybe coming. I think it's happened already, or happening. It's coming in the next few weeks, probably. That's me telling you guys what I've seen already, but you'll see that obviously with him that he deflects. In fact, he did it earlier in the season, very early on. When they were talking about what he was doing wrong, he said, "So what about Charly? When are we going to start talking about Charly?" Whenever there's a conversation around his behavior, he seemingly deflects. That is problematic. Whenever we're talking about his behavior, suddenly he wants to deflect. And again, he's doing it here again once more. It's a bit more subtle this time. The conversation's around about his DMs. What does he do? Instead of taking accountability and saying, "You know what? I've looked at it, I've researched it, I've gone back into it. Actually, you know what? Sending a DM was not a good thing to do." Instead, he says, "You know what? I want to talk about the fact that you don't listen to me. You don't hear me very well." Sir, we're still dealing with the whole fact that you have not done the DM situation. But that's his common tactic. Instead of actually addressing issues, he will deflect. Now, we've got to get to a point where we don't deflect and we actually have a conversation around your behavior in order for us to bring about a change. I don't like this behavior. It affects me this way. And we should be seeing you empathize and begin to change that. But we don't. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know my intro is quite long in this one. Like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate guys still locked and so loaded. Let's get the intro going and then we'll get the conversation flowing. Little Black, you know what time it is. 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 Yes. Talking obviously about Charly and talking about Otis. I think what we see with Charly and Otis really and truly is a competition, like I said from earlier on in the season, between these two. I really do believe as well that with Otis and Charly, what their biggest situation seems to be is when you get to a certain point where I feel like you're not listening, other person doesn't want to listen. When I feel hurt, other person's going to hurt. Tit for tat all the time. We've been saying it for the past few weeks. But specifically, I think this week we can see a little bit more. I want to kind of just go scoot back a little bit slightly and just play this clip here.
What are your views?
I don't know if I'm being heard. That's all there is to it.
Why do you think you're not being heard?
You're...
Now, you can see the uncomfortability in Charly's face when he's now discussing about not being heard. And probably because he's deflecting from the original issue, which was around about the fact that about the DM situation and have you thought about it? And he still hasn't. He's got to a point where, yeah, I've thought about it. I'm sorry. But he's got to a point where he keeps on trying to change the narrative to, well, you know what? I wasn't heard. Or, you do the exact same thing. Or what about when you do this? Instead of actually just taking accountability of what has been done. Now, that's frustrating. And that in itself leaves the person feeling like they can't be vulnerable with you. Now, I'm totally down and digging it and saying I want to see men also have emotional spaces with women too. But what I can't accept is the fact that you want emotional safe space, but you don't open yourself up to correction. And when you do want to be corrected, you start trying to deflect on the other person. I've also mentioned the fact that there's times where Charly's wrong and he's absolutely right the way she behaves about things. But this one here, sir, you gotta take the bow on this one.
You're not hearing me when I tell you I'm not ready to talk. It's bad enough as it is, honestly.
Okay, so you don't want to move forward. That's what you're saying right now?
Now, I don't think that's actually what he's saying right now, but I understand why you're vexed to say that point. But I don't think he's saying that right now. And the reason why I bring it up is because this is not the first time she's kind of made a conclusion like that. It's not the first time. So she has a habit of doing that, right? Now, it could be she might be saying, I'm only reacting to his accountability. Well, babe, even so, you still got to be accountable for why you say what you say. And you still got to hold those words that you do say. So it's important to understand that when you are dealing with these situations, that we're looking at it critically as well. You conclude very, very quickly, which leaves you open to another counter move from somebody who's manipulative. If he's being manipulative, you concluding that quickly, instead of letting him speak and let him hang himself, you conclude so quickly there is no room for that. You need to wait and you need to pause and be patient and let him hang himself if he's going to do that.
Because we don't
Is
have
it
to.
what I said?
Well, you're not saying anything, and I need you to say something, or we won't move forward.
And that's the point. She's saying you need to say something now because obviously she's left. Remember, I said if you're gonna walk out, make sure you go and you don't come back. But now we're having conversations. Well, if you know what, if you don't say anything, I'm gonna be out, babe. You give him another chance by coming back and asking him to have a conversation. If you're out, stay out. Let's not do the conversational talks. If you out, stay out. Don't bother trying to come back. If you out, stay out. Don't try to do the in and out with a conversation by almost trying to wrestle back power or get him to see where you're coming from by standing outside of the relationship. It won't work. It won't work. You'll just get roped back in again. Do you know what I mean?
I have had issues being able to talk to you about certain things. You haven't been wanting to accept from me. Like that's something you want to just throw
So
away.
Pause. See how the conversation is now flipped onto you don't really listen to me, you don't really hear me out. Now the focus has become about how he feels rather than addressing the actual issues. And what he's looking to do is now guilt trip you into changing the narrative into why he's hurt. So you forget what you were there for originally. It's a very clever manipulation tactic. I know it's a very clever one. Introduce a new topic, distract, then get the other person feeling guilty about their own behavior. And it means they won't address what you felt was an issue originally.
You're gonna blame
And brush it to the
me
side.
for your behavior. That's what we're doing.
No,
So
the
it's
talk to you
my
part.
fault that you can't talk to me for your behavior. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think he was necessarily saying that, but I understand why you made that conclusion. I mean, why you made that deduction, because earlier on you were talking about the DM situation. So if he's saying about you don't listen to me, in some sense, what I do understand what you're saying is what he is concluding is the reason why I did what I did is because you don't listen to me, which is not the truth. He does what he did because he wanted to do it. He does what he did because he wanted to make sure he got even with you. He don't like being hurt. He don't like being played with. And we saw that earlier on in the season, right? So yes, when you then say after as an answer, this X, Y, and Z, the person can imply X, Y, and Z. Do you get me?
Where I'm able to talk about a date.
Okay.
I really don't see the point of continuing to argue about the DMs.
So what he's really kind of saying here, and this is what Charlie picked up on is, so you're saying because I didn't give you a safe space to explain how you feel, you went and DM'd a girl and then couldn't tell me about DMing the girl because you never had a safe place to explain it. Whether it was a safe space or not, you had to explain it. Whether there was a safe space or not, you should have explained it because you did wrong. But you didn't want to accept the consequence of your actions. That's why you decided to dodge. And now you're using an excuse as to why you can't explain how you feel. This is not you explaining you how you feel. This is of you done something wrong. You explaining how you made me feel, how I've been feeling is an emotional safe space aspect. You doing something wrong and being able to explain it to somebody else when it's this type of wrong is also partly a safe space conversation, but mostly in terms of your integrity. What do you see as you being honest and true with your partner? Do you rate it highly? That's a key question you want to ask yourself.
Because they just weren't that serious and they were innocent. And it's not like I want to go on the third date with Milan's.
And so hopefully this message here was way earlier and they put that in, because how can we be later on down the line and you're still not taking accountability for the fact that the DM meant more than just what it is? He understands that, but he's refusing to, he's in denial on purpose, refusing to deal with the situation at hand. Sir, you violated the relationship and the trust code with the person. How are we saying that DM wasn't that deep? You know what a DM is. And this is the denial that we're talking about, the deflecting we're talking about. That's dangerous for somebody in a relationship with him, because what he will do is he will happily guilt trip you and make you think you're the one that's wrong, make you feeling crazy, twisting the reality. So, you know, I want to focus on this last part though, because this is really interesting for me. This is really interesting for me in terms of Charly and him.
Your way, I can go mine. Since you don't want to talk about it, I don't want to talk anymore. We're done.
Charly, we're having this conversation. Don't do that.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
Now, what's really interesting is Charly's very explosive, or should I say, very emotional response to being told what to do. And we saw this very similarly earlier on when they were sitting in the car, when Dr. Nicole, and she said, "Give me the car keys." And he said, he said, "Don't tell me what to do." I was like, oh. And I was like, okay. So there may be a deeper aspect in terms of either she's noticed his behavior during the course of a relationship of being controlling, or maybe she feels a trigger emotionally when it comes to control. And so she has a volatile reaction when she feels there are moments of control, because that's what it was. That was a volatile reaction there. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, guys? Like it, share, subscribe. You know, click on that bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and also stay loaded. We'll see you again very, very soon.